Hello and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President and Senior Consultant with the firm Kapinos Retirement Group. This program is designed to bring to you, the viewer, the latest trends and concepts in the U.S. retirement system. So let's get started. Welcome back, and I thought we'd now kind of shift directions to get the perspective of the service provider. With me now is Peter Kapinos, Head of Client Engagement with Empower Retirement. Peter, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So plan transition obviously is a very important element to onboarding a plan. It's an important part of plan success. So from your perspective, how critical is the plan transition?
There's an old expression, you have one chance to make a first impression. And that's why it's so critical that that plan transition goes smoothly and make the right impression on employees, because too often you have participants who, for whatever reason, this is the one time when they're engaging. There's an opportunity to draw them in, to show them a new experience, to get them to think a little differently. And if that doesn't happen, you may not get them back. That's why the combination of the right message and the right medium at the right time is so important.
But you've got to have the right system, so the right record-keeping system, the right process in place, and the right people to effectuate a positive transition.
Yeah, so that's why I think one of the things that Empower brings to the table is we have expertise with over 7 million participants, 30,000 plans across all markets, where there's a lot of collaboration and sharing that goes on between our service teams. So for example, what might work especially well with a DRS plan, we might have experience doing working with other state plans, with other large corporate plans. So there's some idea sharing that goes on there. Having that scale of the operating system, folks don't know this, but our operating system is one of the most modern in the industry. It is it's a proprietary system that is server-based, not mainframe. What that means to our clients is that we're more flexible. It gives us the scale to be more innovative. So when we think about the onboarding experience, let's say, for example, if you want to do a particular type of reporting, or for some of our clients, a particular type of customization, it's much easier for us to do it much more quickly than, let's say, if we had leased software or a system that wasn't as flexible.
Wow, I mean, that sounds like you guys have it down pretty much to a science. I mean, you work with pretty much all the other vendors in the record-keeping space. You know what it takes from point A to point B to transition a plan.
Well, that's true, Jeff. We bring clients on from a variety of different vendors. We've been very fortunate in that way. Part of it, candidly, is right now we're an employer of choice. We're growing pretty rapidly in a number of different markets, particularly in the government market, where we are one of 4 state employees has their retirement with Empower. What that means is that we're bringing on expertise, level of specialization that a lot of firms may not be able to deliver on, but when it comes to that implementation, part of our process is that implementation person has probably worked with other clients coming from the same type of record-keeping system. So if you know what the code is on the other side, it's much easier to make that transition go smoothly. Absolutely,
and you mentioned the word collaboration. How important is collaboration? I know it's important within your organization. It's an organization that has different functional areas. They all have to come together, work on behalf of a client. But when you're effectuating a plan transition and even ongoing service to a client, you've got to have collaboration. You've got to have collaboration by the plan sponsor, but you also have to have collaboration with the other parties around the table. How important is that to plan success?
I think, again, using sort of old adages, no one plans to fail, they just fail to plan. That's why from the moment we even start looking at partnering with a prospective client, when we have that first dialogue about working with Empower as your future provider, part of that conversation is what might that communication plan look like? So we're already thinking about that from the moment we meet with a prospective client. But from that point forward is where it becomes really fun and interesting. Depending on the client, we may take on as much or as little work as they want to do. We have some clients who will say, leave the driving to us. They have a system, they have an internal resources where it's their job to package together, for example, the retirement plan with all the other benefits. We also have some clients who will take a look at us and say, we've got an in-house agency here. We've got a multimedia creative group who will put together some design ideas based on industry best practices and couple it together with the rest of their offering. So, to your point, to your question is a lot of it is in the planning. A lot of it is figuring out sort of who does what and how involved do they want us to be. But it's so critical that along the way we focus group this stuff. We go out, we meet with individual employees, we spend time on campus with our clients to get a feel for the culture, the environment of the employees, because it's ultimately the employees that we're serving.
And you mentioned your in-house ad agency, your capabilities. I mean, you're rolling out, creating new innovative products and services each day. I mean, you're developing the concepts for tomorrow around retirement, correct?
Yeah, so we've been very, very lucky, and if you look at where Empower is today, we've really brought together 3 industry leaders. With over 7 million participants, the background of where that is coming from is it's the combination of the Great West Retirement Services, JP Morgan Retirement Plan Services, and Putnam's Retirement Businesses. When you bring those 3 companies together, what it's enabled us to do was to take some great thinking that already existed, but in many ways think about it being a clean slate. In other words, we know what has worked well in our legacy organizations. We know in some cases things that if you had to do it all over again, you might look across the room and say, we liked yours better. So we had 3 different organizations coming together. What that's allowed us to do is sort of clean slate a lot of this stuff. So in other words, you look forward, particularly with what we're building on the web experience, on the mobile experiences, clean slate, very engaging, very intuitive design in terms of our approach there. So there's some new things that we're really bringing to market.
Peter Kapinos, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks. I want to thank you all very much for joining us on this edition of Staying Ahead of the Curve. Hope you enjoyed the panelists and the insight that we learned today, and I hope you tune in again for more Staying Ahead of the Curve. Thank you, and goodbye.